everyone. Welcome back to The Council. It's your girl, Cosette.
Lexi and Rachel.
I was waiting for you to say Cosette for some
I was
reason.
like looking at Cosette.
I was like waiting for the cue.
I saw her pause. I'm like, Cosette?
I don't know
like,
why.
Should I say your name?
Do I say it? This week, we are talking about something that could be even more grueling than a real breakup, and that is friendship breakups.
That is very true.
When it's time to move past a friendship, when you feel like you've outgrown each other, and how to cope. Because a lot of times it's literally more painful than a romantic breakup.
Yeah.
So here's a question, because as I was working on this topic, I know I've gone through a bad friendship breakup. Have you guys ever experienced a bad friendship breakup? Or maybe just one where you realized you've outgrown someone who you used to be really close with?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I think definitely the second. I don't know if I've had a bad friendship breakup. At least I've had bad fights, but my two best friends from back home, we have always come back together. So I've never had one that ended a fight or ended a relationship. But
okay, so you've never had a friendship breakup or grown apart from someone that you ended up not.
Well, I've
patching.
definitely grown apart from friends that we just haven't connected in the same way over long term, and that's really sad because you remember how close you were, and you just kind of reflect and you're like, what happened? Why? Like, I mean, I know we're gonna get into this, but is it because both of us stopped putting effort in? Is it because I didn't do my part? And that's when you reflect, and it's really sad. And sometimes I think back, I'm like, should I reach out? But at the same time, what are we salvaging here? What are we trying to salvage? And I think what we're talking about here is when to know to move on or break up and from your friend and go on. But no, I haven't had a messy, bad friendship breakup. I don't think.
And I think sometimes people exist for certain seasons of your life, and they're very, like, you guys have a strong impact on each other for a certain period of time, whether it's in high school, whether it's in college, and then you end up going separate ways. Maybe you move to different cities, or you realize that you guys, like, maybe now they're really into going out and partying, which is fine for them, but you guys are just not as compatible in a lot of sociability aspects. So it's totally fine, and it happens all the time.
Have you, Rachel?
Yeah, what about you, Rachel?
Oh yeah, I've had friendship breakup, and one in particular comes into my mind. But just like I lived in Orange County my whole entire life, and then I moved to LA, I would first being a content creator, I would go to LA to do like a bunch of collabs and everything. So I've met a bunch of people, and there was this one girl that I met and like ended up hitting off. Like I hit our friendship, like we always had like a good connection and a good friendship. And I was still living in Orange County at the time, and then things were always good, and she's like, actually, I have a room opening up, like if you're interested, like come on over. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is absolutely great, like my lease is ending, and like I have a good relationship with you, like it's been fun, like every time we hang out, so yeah, let's do it. And literally it's crazy when you meet someone in person, but you really truly understand who someone is when you live with them. And this happened I think like the first week of literally moving in to be a roommate with her. But we ended up going to a party, and it was pretty packed. I didn't know anyone. Like I was her plus one. I didn't know anyone, and literally we knew that it was going to get so busy, so I ended up giving I was like, hey, it's going to get busy, like I'm going to give the bartender $20, and throughout the night, I'm just going to ask, and like
Smart girl.
he'll hook me up. So I ended up giving him $20, and then he got us our drinks. And then later, as the night goes on, literally it was packed. There was so many people at the bar trying to get drinks, and like we were waiting in line, and she's like, hey, like you tipped the bartender, right? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, then you shouldn't really be waiting in line. I'm like, you know what, you're right. So I go out of the line and go to the edge of the bar. Me and the bartender lock eyes, and I say like 2 drinks, and literally within 15 seconds, I had 2 drinks in my hand. Great, perfect, awesome. I grab my drinks, and I go back to like where we were in the line, but there was so many people. There was like 4 different rows, And I was like, okay, my hands are full and there's a bunch of people. And my roommate at the time was still standing in line, and I'm yelling her name because, I got the drinks. I'm yelling her names. And she makes eye contact with me, and then she just turns around. And I'm like, huh? Maybe it was just like, maybe she like glanced
Didn't
over in
hear
my
you or, yeah.
direction and like didn't see me. I was giving her the benefit of the doubt. So I'm like going through this crowd of people, and I have the 2 drinks that I just got us. And, I go up to her.
But she's also the one that said you gave him a 20, you should be able to go in the front?
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
So I whittle my way through all these people to her.
Whittle your way.
Whittle
my way.
We had to
There was-
address
I
that.
know.
There
I
was
was
a
like,
lot
that
of
was
people. And I have my drink, and I'm like, oh, here you go. Like, here's your drink. And as I'm giving the drink to her, she just met the people behind her and like is shaking their hand. And as I was handing my drink, it kind of like her hand kind of hit my hand, so like the drink kind of spilled on me, but it a little spilled on her, but more spilled on me. And like she grabbed it like and then turned her back towards me and didn't even talk to me.
What are you, her server?
And I was like, what? Like, she's acting like she doesn't even know me.
You.
I
Your
just got her this
roommate?
drink, and she's my roommate. Literally.
And the only reason she got the drink as fast as she did is because you tipped the bartender.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
What happened?
And then, oh my gosh, that relationship was just a snowball. Like, that was like the first week within moving in. And that was the most disgusting behavior I've ever seen. And I'm like, I ended up living with her for way too long and put up with way too much crap. So much.
Wow.
But yeah, ended that relationship and not looking back. I don't even go near that like with a 10-foot pole. Like, no way.
How'd you
No
know, I guess, how'd you make that final decision? Like, this isn't a friendship for me. Like,
Good question.
Oh,
yeah.
literally just after that first like interaction, I knew like, okay, like not good.
You handled, I guess, the friendship differently even from the first reaction then?
Well, what was crazy was the next day, she acted like nothing happened. She acted like it didn't even happen. And I was like, what? And I noticed that the relationship was a red flag because when she was with me, she'd talk crap on her friends that she was with. And then I figured out the friends that she was with, she would talk crap on me. She'd literally hang out with someone, turn her back, and be like, "Oh, they're absolutely disgusting." And it's like, then why you even act like their friend?
I think that's a great red flag for friendships. Is seeing, like, it's one thing to rant to your best friends about a situation in your life. It's another thing to act buddy with someone and then turn around and immediately talk smack about them.
Yeah.
Because if you're doing that to people in your life that you are supposedly best friends with, of course there are frustrations, but when you're like purposely just acting buddy with someone and then going back and talking smack, you can only imagine what they're saying about you behind your back.
So there's a difference
Exactly.
between venting and gossiping.
Yeah.
And like being
Yep.
a mean girl and talking crap about people that you're supposedly friends and supposed to defend, and then venting versus like, here's a situation that happened, this is how it affected me, and like, yeah, it was totally uncool. But and then versus like, did you hear what happened to her? Did you, like, when something has nothing to do with you and you're just talking about your friend, then that's a bad sign. But you have every right to vent about things that affect you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Until
like,
you become
oh
a
my
mean girl
gosh.
about it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And like just do something or say something that will stir the pot, even if you know it's not true, or like act like literally she was the definition of Two-Face. It's
Yeah.
like me saying, "Oh my gosh, you look absolutely amazing today."
Oh my
And
gosh,
then
ugliest
Cosette,
skirt I
her-
said. Yeah.
Her outfit is absolutely trash.
Yeah.
Like,
I know,
I don't know.
yeah.
She probably got it at like
Fake,
Goodwill or
genuine,
something.
fake. Yeah.
Girl,
like
nothing wrong with
that's-
Goodwill.
I'm not hating. I'm not hating.
No, she's being a Regina George right now.
I am.
Yeah,
I'm not
she-
hating. I love Goodwill. Shout out.
So I guess because your story was just, we're talking about it right now. How did you sever that relationship? Did you have a conversation? Because I imagine, I mean, I've never had a big friendship blowout, so I guess I never had to address anything. We kind of went our separate ways. But how did you handle that? Because you were living together. I mean, you were going out together.
Yeah, actually, it was crazy because, like, it ended up getting to the point where I couldn't even live in the house. Like, we ended up, a bunch of people ended up moving in because it was like a content creator space, and by the end of it, like we literally weren't even like allowed to shoot in the house. And that was the sole purpose. And it was like, what are we even doing? Like I feel like I'm literally walking on eggshells, and like she's gonna flip, and it just was not healthy, extremely toxic, and just anyone she interacted with, like, it's a big red flag when you see someone constantly changing friend groups.
Yeah.
And
that's a good point.
With her, it literally it was always a new friend group, and you know, my friend group that was friends with her, we're not friends with her anymore. You know, it's like she makes it very clear that she's someone you stay the heck away from.
It's also a great thing to know. I was just talking about this with a friend the other day. When there's someone who you're friends with who bounces around and is like friends with everyone but can't actually get close to anyone, and I think that's a big sign when you try to get close to them and like they kind of freak out at the sense of like anyone being actually close with them, but they kind of keep everyone at an arm's length. I think that's also just not someone who's gonna be able to maintain meaningful connections.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah,
Like
a lot of like
connections.
yeah, switching friend groups a lot. And I think sometimes we want to hold on and like save these relationships and try to fix them because we're like, well, there's nothing that we can't work out. But when you feel like you're constantly being taken advantage of, you're being talked about, and it's just someone who's dragging you down, sometimes you have to know when to walk away.
It's just like a relationship. I mean, I think I've thought about this in the past where if you remove your effort, will the relationship stand? Will they reach out? Will they check in on you?
Yeah.
Will they say, hello, let's meet for lunch? Or, hey, it's been a while, let's do this. And if you feel like if you remove your energy, then the relationship it's not going to go anywhere, then it might be time to move on from that friendship because it can't be one person in any relationship and in a friendship that's making it work.
Yeah.
So, like, you can't be the only one to be like, you can't be the only listener in the group. You can't be the only one that someone talks to. You can't, like, the dynamic won't always work then because you're just going to be exhausted and depleted because you know what that relationship is. You're like,
draining.
Oh, this person's calling me. I know it's because they just need to talk about themselves for a moment.
Yeah.
And that's great. That's part of a friendship. Like, everyone needs that, but it can't be just one-sided.
It's a two-way street.
So, if you realize, like, these relationships are lopsided like that, like if there's a friendship that is just using you in one way like that, but they're not there for you in that same way, like you're calling them, they ignore it, or like they're always busy when you need something, or like if they're not there for you to help or move in, or like in the little things that you're there for them for, it's like okay, maybe it's
really
time to move on.
Yeah. I had someone ask me recently, it was like, hey, listen, I have a friend who I feel like we were really close, but I haven't spoken to her in a while, and she hasn't been reaching out to me. She hasn't been checking in on me, and I feel like I've been texting her a lot to check in. She hasn't responded. Does she hate me? Is it worth it? Is a friendship worth walking away from? And the first thing I would say in that situation is sometimes I go through really busy seasons of my life. I'm traveling a lot and I'm not responding to texts. Or let's say I just had a death in the family or a loss or a health scare that I'm trying to deal with. There are times we all go through seasons where we're not going to be able to be as responsive. And that's okay. Like, that doesn't mean that you're a bad friend if you're just kind of off the grid for a bit. The first thing I would do is check in on that person as a friend and text them, hey, I haven't heard from you in a while. I just wanted to check in and make sure everything's okay. Give them the opportunity. From there, if they don't respond, then I would follow up and maybe ask them to give them a hint that, like, this is serious for you. Did I do something to upset you? Is there something that I did? I would love to resolve it. I miss you as a friend. Because give them the space. Maybe there is something that unintentionally, most likely they're busy, but then you can kind of, okay, obviously this person is upset. They haven't spoken to me. They think it's now their fault. From there, if then they're not responding, then you could get a little bit more like, hey, I feel like I'm not really being responded to. Like, you mean a lot to me as a friend. I don't want to lose this friendship. Then you could take it a little bit more seriously. But I would say accept and respect that some people go through seasons of their life where they're a little bit more busy, and that doesn't necessarily mean, oh, this person sucks, I have to cut them off as a friend. But, it could be something worth talking about. And in the same way that, like, we've gone through periods where, like, Lexi, you maybe are not as responsive in the group chat, and you hop in and you're like, hey guys, I've been really busy. My brother's visiting. I'm traveling. I'm going back home. Like,
we understand.
Yeah, exactly. And
but
like,
I think it always comes down to communication. Like,
yes.
Hey,
yeah,
at least like we said, we get there's things that happening. But if you have a friend that does mean something to you and you're like, hey, it's just not a good time right now. definitely will check in when I feel more up to it, but thanks for checking in. I'm good. Like, even if you're not up for talking or there's something going on, when you feel like you have at least a little bit of energy to just give your friend who's checking in after multiple times, it's like, just put them at bay and say, like, hey, nothing you did. Or if it is something you did, like, say, like, when I'm in a better headspace, I'll definitely talk to you about it. But yeah, if you're going months and months without acknowledging a message, like, if you look back at your text and one friend is clearly saying, like, hey, how are you doing, what's up, and then the friend responds, but then nothing after that, and then you send another follow-up, like, hey, so how was that job interview or whatever, and the friend ignores, like, you can tell if you're not getting something out of the relationship. And, like, everyone is okay to not respond. It's everyone is going through life, and it sucks sometimes, and it's hard, and you don't always want to be on your phone, and you have feelings, but, like, it's not fair to the person on the other end who doesn't know what's going on with you, and they're just trying to, like, show their support and their friendship. So, you're entitled to that time off, but if that friendship means something to you, I think in a like a quick saying, hey, I'm okay.
Things are just super
going through a
busy.
lot, but I like, thanks for checking in. I'll check in, like, soon.
Yeah, something I really like doing in terms of, like, friendship maintenance, because I have my core group of, like, best friends, which are you two, are my cousins and my sister, and I feel like those are the people I talk to every day. And then I have a outer circle of, like, I'm friends with a lot of people who I don't get to necessarily see very often, but I'm still friends with them. And so I, just so that everyone feels like we're catching up and I'm, like, watering these friendships, I like to every once in a while host, like, a bigger game night or a bigger, like,
you're great at hosting events, having people together, and making
they're always so fun. When's our next one?
I know I need to do one.
I still need to meet Mr. Tennis, so.
Oh my gosh, I forgot you haven't met him. But yeah, I like to do, like, a bagel social or a tea party or whatever it is.
But you also, like, everyone in your circle feels connected to you because you do water those friendships, and you make sure that everyone who is there, it's purposeful, and your relationship with them is purposeful. It's not just something for granted. You're like, hey, like, I'm just throwing a name on the list because, I'm just trying to fill up a party. Everyone, you're like, oh, I found this connection. We've only hung out once, but I'd really like to explore it more. Like, everyone that we meet and everyone that are always at your events, it's just a lot of fun. And everyone that I meet at your party, it's like, oh, because that's the greatest. Like, she always makes time for me. Aww. Like, no matter what, you make time for your friends.
You.
So
that's sweet. I wasn't trying to fish for
but
she's
like,
she's like,
keep it
going. Wrong way.
But, like, that's why we're like, everyone has, like, a circle, a wider circle, the other circle, and it's important. Like, it is maintenance. It's just like any relationship, and there's times where you're tired, and there's times where you really are like, oh, I do not want to, like, reach out and maybe FaceTime or do this. But sometimes it's necessary to be like, hey, let's schedule a FaceTime, or like, hey, let's schedule a checkup. Like, I mean, if that's a relationship important to you, then you have to do maintenance. You have to do the watering, like you said, and you do a great job at doing that. And I think I have such a small group because I don't do that well. Like, I put energy into a small amount of people. And then when it's more, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do this.
Well, because it gets exhausting. Like, you want to be friends with so many people, but, like, maintaining those friendships is a whole different level, which is why I think hosting something and being able to bring everyone together is a great way of just, like, letting the person know, I see you, I value you, I want to have you in my life, I want to spend time with you.
Yes.
And it's a little bit easier and more, like, I guess, productive than doing, like, individual coffee catch-ups with everyone.
They can socialize with you, but they can also meet new people.
Exactly, because I love also bringing people together and, like, kind of matchmaking friendships. So I think that's a great... and relationships. You are
add it to the resume.
Yeah, you are
Rachel Exhibit A.
Of that. But, yeah, like, just a reminder that...
Exhibit A and B and C. Is there any other relationships that you've built?
Yes. I've
romantic relationships.
Romantic relationships. I don't know. I've been very successful with friends relationships.
Yeah, I know you're successful with friends.
I know.
Oh yeah, I brought you.
I know.
I just broke my pen. Yeah, I brought you two together. That's right.
You brought me my boyfriend and my best friend.
Wow. Oh my god, it seems like you owe me a lot.
Yeah, I owe you my life.
Where's my stuff? Yeah.
But yeah, like I got into a conversation with one of my really good friends once that um I don't want to put any like I don't want to put anyone on the spot, but he came to me one day and was like, "Hey, I feel like you have been hard to reach lately, and because we live, you know, 30-minute drive from each other, it's hard to just stop by. And I feel like I'm putting in more effort to this friendship than you are, and I just want to have a talk about this." And I was like, "Okay, how about you come over? Like, let's talk about this in person." And we talked about it, and I was like, "You're right. Like, I haven't been as present of a friend as I should have been. That I not to make excuses, but I've been really overwhelmed lately, and I haven't been making time for many people at all. But I realize this is something important to you, and yeah, absolutely. Like, let's do a better job at that." And so I started to build more into like, okay, if I don't have the time to hang out, maybe I bring him to an event every once in a while so we can have that time to catch up
Yeah.
as well. And I feel like there's so much opportunity there to just grow your relationship and get so much stronger in the same way that in romantic relationships conflict a lot of times
And just like that, sometimes
grows
you
you
have to have
stronger.
uncomfortable
Yeah.
conversations like you and your friend had. It's okay to have, and
Yeah.
that's often like something like, do we both want this to work?
Yeah.
And like we want to put effort in, or is it something like I really don't have the time, and I just feel like we have enough effort right now, and if you don't feel that way, then maybe that's when you split
Yeah.
off. But you know productive things happen out of productive conversations, and the fact that
Uh-huh.
your friend was able to bring that up to you, and you both like reevaluate like where time can shift and move and see each other, it's like that's good. That's like what a friendship is. If you have a long lasting relationship and friendship, you know that fights happen, you know that conversations happen, you know that some boundaries can be crossed, and
Uh-huh.
it's okay to talk about it and be like, hey, like again, I feel like you haven't been present, or like, hey, I feel like where have you been? And okay, it's okay to be apologized, but let's work on that. And
Yeah. It's it's
yeah,
it's good to have friends that will hold you accountable as well.
yes,
Like you want people who hold you to be that push you to be the best version of yourself and hold you to a certain
they don't
standard.
judge you, but they're also there to be like, hey,
Yeah.
we know you haven't been here. Like,
Yeah.
let's talk about it. Let's do
Exactly.
better. And you're like, okay, thank you. Like, yes, I
Yeah,
slacked
so
off.
we're constantly growing, we're constantly evolving, and yeah, there's ways in which those friends can take you through different seasons of your life, and there's also ways in which a friend is there to support you through a certain season, help you grow. I think
Yeah.
definitely like God and the universe puts certain people into our lives for certain reasons to help us grow
Mhm.
and get through certain points in our life, but not everyone has to be there 100% of the time or for your whole life, and
And
that
it's okay
doesn't
not
make
to
them a
force
bad
it.
friend.
Yeah, it's okay
Yeah.
not to force that relationship, and just because you had a connection during college or high school or whatever, then that's a great time, and that's a great way for you to have learned and to have had that friend at that time.
Yeah.
But it's okay if it's not extending your whole life. Like that's okay.
Not
It
a sign
doesn't
of a
mean that
bad
you failed.
friendship.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
doesn't mean that it was a
It still
bad
was a good
friendship.
friendship.
Right,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right. So just be easy on yourself in that way. Like it's okay to reconnect and see each other 10 years and be like, "Oh my god, how are you doing?" and not hold guilt over each other like,
Yep.
"Well, looks like we didn't stay friends." And you're like, "Oh, well, I thought it naturally took its course. If you
Uh-huh.
had
Yeah.
felt something different, I wish you would have said
Reached
something and
out.
like reached
Yeah.
out."
Yeah.
So,
We just want to encourage the viewers that every friendship, every relationship that you have, whether it's platonic or romantic, you can learn so much from. You can. And it's very important.
yeah.
And
Oh,
also,
my
like,
friendships, I mean, often we're putting more work than my relationship
oh,
into each
yeah,
other. Like
for
we're
sure.
we're like effort. I'm like we bring flowers, we bring snacks, we're
Uh
planning
huh.
girls' times. Like
That's true.
our girls, they mean the most.
Yeah.
Your friendships should, because they're the ones that are going to be there for you. Hopefully,
Thick and thin.
thick and thin, right?
Yeah.
Like if you break up with a romantic partner, your friends are there. So don't just kind of discard them. Put time and effort into them.
Water those
Yeah.
friendships,
Water the
nourish
friendships.
them, and
Yep.
maybe after listening to this episode, text. There was something. I'm gonna butcher this, but at church, the sermon said, it was like without or gratitude without acknowledgement. It was something in the sense that I see. I told you I was gonna butcher this, and I'm butchering it. It was something that like gratitude within is only so strong, but it's when you acknowledge and you share the gratitude with the people around you is when it has real impact. So I encourage everyone to text someone important in your life, whether it's your parent, whether it's your sibling, whether it's your best friend, and share something that you are grateful for them for. and share that gratitude. And I think it will be a great little
I'm
exercise
definitely gonna do
in
that.
gratitude. Yeah.
We should all do
you.
that today.
Yeah.
I'm gonna text you girls right now.
Aw,
Anyway,
right here.
thank you so much for listening to this episode. Make sure to follow, give us 5 stars, all that jazz. You know the deal. Signing off. It's Cosette.
Lexi.
And Rachel.
Bye.